So there's a lot of blame going around at the moment about the economy. So we're going to give you some facts today, not Liberal or Labor narrative, just the facts on the economy. One, when the coalition left power, inflation had already taken off. It was 6.1%. Fact, yes, it was the RBA which failed to hike quickly enough, cut off inflation at the pass. What is inflation now? It is now 3.6% for the June quarter, so it's fallen significantly since Labor is in office. Third fact, what is inflation? Inflation is rising prices. Simple as that. Who lifts prices? Is it workers? No, it's companies. Yes, companies are mostly to blame for inflation. The other point about inflation, this is a fact. It is a global phenomenon. So when the Liberal or the Labor Party blame each other, either for poor demand from overseas and effect on commodity prices or inflation, most of the economy is beyond their control. Fact. It's overseas issues, overseas drivers driving inflation, things like energy prices. Now, this is also a fact. Australia is in per capita recession, 6 quarters in a row. If you strip out immigration, that is a fact. Even the real GDP, we are in trouble. It's listless at the moment. Fact, that is a global phenomenon. It is not contained to Australia. We are in a low growth era globally. Fact. Here's some facts which you will absolutely adore, because the coalition used to run this line about being the superior economic managers. So we checked this out. We went all the way back to 1959 on the very metrics, on the measures which politicians used to judge each other. That is GDP growth. So we went to the Australian Bureau of Statistics and we mapped it all out and put it on a spreadsheet. And this is what we came up with. The Treasurer Measurer, the facts on the ABS numbers, GDP. John Howard, who they've been rolling out lately to sermonise about the Australian economy to Jim Chalmers. Fact, John Howard is Australia's worst ever treasurer. Howard had the first, second and fourth worst growth numbers of any quarter, with a personal worst of almost 3% negative. Horrendous. Another Liberal treasurer, Harold Holt, was second in the league table with third and fifth worst, and Paul Keating, Labor's treasurer turned PM, came in with the sixth worst, a worse of a negative growth during one quarter at 1.1%. Now, Josh Frydenberg, of course, would win this hands down with his horrendous performance, but to be fair to Josh, it was COVID. The whole world got smashed, so we just don't measure that at all. But we do know that Josh gave away $40 billion to companies which didn't need it with no clawback mechanism. That was JobKeeper. We also know that they delivered $1 trillion worth of debt that never managed to make a surplus or balance the budget, and their claims to be superior economic managers are false claims. Now, when we look at the Treasurer Measurer and these statistics, we've got to say that there were special circumstances which affect or infect sometimes the numbers that we've come up with. Things like when the GST was introduced, that had a massive impact on GDP. But just recall that the Liberals, the coalition government, is in 2/3 of the time in Australia. This affects the figures too, because if they're in for 2/3 of the time, it gives them it's more reliable, consistent information which we're dealing with here, and it does affect the figures. Now, the other point is that Josh looks like he's going to try to make a comeback. Coalition is in absolute nowhere land when it comes to the economy. The suggestion at the moment, we don't know whether it's policy, but this is their rhetoric, is that they gouge $100 billion out of public spending, out of the public service. This is the only part of the economy performing right now. You can't just send the whole country hurtling into recession by cutting the only bit of the economy that is producing the economic growth. And the other arm of this non-policy policy, of course, is more tax cuts. why you would give away more tax cuts to high income earners in this dire cost of living crisis for the bottom half of Australians. It just does not make sense. So those are the facts. The track record of Labor versus the Coalition. Labor's not perfect, but it has a superior growth record and management of the economy record to the Coalition on the facts. Check it out. We attach the story. Thanks for your support. Please like, share, or comment, especially comment. Get the debate going in the section below.